Hello and welcome to another video review. This is The Dig for Windows 95 and Macintosh. Now, to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't know too much about this game until I got it. I got it in the LucasArts Adventure Pack on Steam, and that's what you're looking at right now. And that's why everything looks kind of fuzzy and blurred and everything. It's because they anti-alias the sprites, and I don't really like that, to be honest with you. But anyway, the game was originally released on Windows 95 and Macintosh. It was also connected to Steven Spielberg. I believe he produced it, but I'm not exactly sure. He may have written some of the script. I'm not 100% certain on that. But it's in the credits somewhere. I'd have to take a look at that again. And anyway. Anywho, this is a point-and-click adventure game in the typical style of LucasArts. It uses the Scum engine, much like Monkey Island, Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, that kind of thing. So it looks fairly similar to those games. Now, of course, the graphics, while looking like the Scum game engine, are different from the rest of the Scum game engine games that you'll see around. Basically, everything was hand-drawn. I don't know exactly about the sprites for like the characters and stuff, but all of the environments hand-drawn. Then, of course, there's the videos, which are basically like a cartoon animation, kind of like what you'd see in something like Dragon's Lair, or maybe Space Ace, and those actually segment with the gameplay very well, because you'll be doing something and all of a sudden it'll just transition to this video seamlessly, and it just, it's a great effect. And of course all the environments being hand-drawn, they're absolutely gorgeous, and it really helps you draw you into this, alien world. Now, like most LucasArts games, the sound design is phenomenal in this. Especially in the music department, but I'll get to that in a minute. The voice talent is just great as well. You have people like Robert Patrick, who played the T-1000 Terminator in Terminator 2 Judgment Day, being the voice of Commander Boston Lowe, who is the character you play as. You have, Stephen Bloom playing Dr. Brink, who is, and Stephen Bloom did voices for lots of animes and cartoon movies and stuff. But you may know him as Ogren or Gorham from Dragon Age. And of course, all the other talents are great as well. But then there's the music. The music, I would venture, is the best soundtrack I have ever heard in a game. Not only because it is absolutely gorgeous, but because it just fits perfectly. And by perfectly, I mean, if you put any other music in this game, it just wouldn't work. I mean, it would work to a point, but it wouldn't work as well as this. This music is really one of the reasons why this, game is so atmospheric. It just draws you in, and you can't stop, basically. And I mean, it's just amazing, and you can hear that in this video. But it's phenomenal, and I really can't say anything bad about the music at all, apart from the fact that it's a little samey here and there. But that's perfectly fine because it's just beautiful. And, anyway. Now, of course, the gameplay is pretty much what you'd expect from a point-and-click adventure game. You look for items, you click on them, you get those items, you solve puzzles, that kind of thing. But what really amounts to is the storytelling. And that's really, really well done in this game, because, every time you do something, it's just like, okay, this is new, this is cool, it advances the story along, and it's a pretty involving story. It gets very confusing at times, and, they actually wrote a novel for the game afterward, and, I haven't read the novel yet, but, I would hope that it's helps clear some stuff up, because that's what, I've read about the novel. It said supposedly it clears up some things, and it's done from the aliens' perspective. But anyway, basic story is you're Commander Lowe, and you have your team of scientists, and this asteroid is about to collide with Earth, and you have to blast it into harmless orbit. And then while you do that, you trigger something, and then all of a sudden it lands you on this alien world, and you have to find your way back home. That's basic story. It gets more complicated than that, obviously, but it works very well. It's also the first Scum game engine to be a perfect fit into the science fiction genre. It's also the only one. It is also, sadly, the most serious LucasArts adventure game. When you play LucasArts adventure games, you pretty much expect a sense of humor. They're generally very funny. You know, you got like Monkey Island, even Fate of Atlantis, stuff like that. You know, they're still funny. Unlike those, this is a very serious, very dark game at times. And I'm kind of surprised it got the E rating because it has some pretty graphic stuff in it sometimes. Like, you actually have to chop a guy's hand off at one point. But anyway, it doesn't really show too much of that, obviously. But, you know, anyway, there's no slapstick humor. There's a little bit of sarcasm and a little bit of subtle humor in there, but it's just there's not a lot of humor in it. And a lot of people were thrown off by that. You know, it's got that great sense of wonder and discovery, but, you know, it's just not a very funny game, and people are just kind of like, whoa, that's kind of weird. Another thing that really lets this game down, though, is the puzzle design. If you've ever played Myst, you'll know what I'm talking about when you come to a puzzle and you have absolutely no clue what it is or what you're even supposed to do with it. And there's quite a few of those in this, and you know, it really harkens back to Myst. I really did not like Myst, simply because I couldn't figure out what I was supposed to do. I did have to consult walkthroughs for this game a couple times, but it wasn't anything too serious, and I do like that. But, you know, if you're really, you know, abstract, you'll probably love the puzzles in this game. But if you're one of those people who just loves concrete, you know, it's explained everywhere kind of things, you're probably going to hate this game. I mean, none of the puzzles are particularly difficult. It's just that if you know, don't like having to fiddle with them for a while, you're not going to like it. And it's just kind of like, lots of trial and error. But anyway, overall, I really like the dig. You know, that sense of wonder is just, you know, it's hard to match with games these days. But, you know, overall, a very solid adventure game from, you know, LucasArts. So I highly recommend it to fans of LucasArts adventure games. If you're willing to suspend the humor and stuff, you know, you can get over that and play this serious game. But if you're looking for a good adventure game, period, then this is also one to look for. It's a very solid game, and you can get it on Steam now. I got it on the LucasArts Adventure Pack, like I said. And that also includes Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, and Loom. And obviously I'll be reviewing Loom and Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, but I can't review Fate of Atlantis, because that's the only one that didn't work. But anyway, overall, highly recommended to adventure game fans. Or if you're looking to get into adventure games, this is a pretty hard one to get into, I must say, simply because it's a very slow-paced game, and because of the puzzles, and you know, it's just all that kind of stuff. But overall, highly recommended to fans. You know, it's a good game.